Carol, your word for happiness is possibilities. I like this. Tell us about the possibilities of happiness.
Well, if you imagine yourself in, I like to say, a sphere at 360 degrees of possibility, and imagine within that sphere there are thousands and thousands of different doors that you can, some are blue, some are red, some have door handles, some have doorknobs, but you kind of want to play in that space and open a few doors to sort of see, what if I took that timeline or that possibility? What if I did this? What if I did that? So to me, happiness is playing in the land of possibilities where you allow for anything to happen. So this is where you're going quantum, because the old model, Newtonian logic, says that if you set a goal, then you have steps to achieve, maybe every week or every month. But let's say you didn't reach or achieve that step for that week. So you think, okay, I'll double my efforts for next week. And then you still don't reach the target. So you double the effort. And what happens if you keep missing the target? You give up. But in possibility thinking, in the quantum field, anything can happen anytime, which means that if you set yourself an outcome or a focus, it could happen tomorrow, or it could happen in 6 months' time. So you're not glued to how the opportunity presents itself. And to me, happiness is being open to those possibilities, to open new doors and see what would happen by a different conversation, a different experience. Now, when we talk about happiness, people often say that's their goal. And a life that's happy, 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 happy becomes a little bit flatlined. And unfortunately, or fortunately, life shouldn't be a flat line. It has variabilities. It's like when you go to a buffet, most of us know when we go to a buffet that it holds our favorite foods, yet it'll also hold maybe some foods that we haven't tried before or sampled. It's like when you go on holiday, you get the people who go on holiday but want to have the same food that they have at home. Or you get the people who go on holiday and think, well, let's sample some of the local food. Now, it doesn't mean that you like everything, and it just means that you've expanded your paradigm. So again, it comes back to nourishment and health. It comes back to also evolution, wealth, and growth. So to me, health, wealth, and happiness are all totally interlinked. But ultimately, without that health, if your body's not happy, then your mind's not going to be happy, your emotions are not happy. Spiritually, it's challenging to evolve when you're sort of just fixed. So to me, it's enjoying the buffet of life. That's possibilities. And being in that sphere, 360 degrees of possibility, hundreds of thousands of doors to open. To me, that's exciting.
And you created the Possibility Hub. What was your inspiration for this?
To be truthful, my inspiration was that I am very blessed. I do a lot of different things and I wear a lot of different hats. So I also work with an indigenous medicine called Cambo. It's not psychoactive. It's more of a healer, physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. I also offer breathwork, mentoring, keynote. I'm an author, master firewalk instructor. That I found that if I was introducing myself, how would anybody remember that? They wouldn't. It goes in one ear and out the other. And also that I had 3 different websites. And so I had one called Amazing and Beyond for all what I called the weird. Then I had my speaker website. And then I had my other website for our NLP certification programs and business programs. So I decided that wasn't going to work, that I needed to find an umbrella to bring it all together. And the word possibility excites me. Potential possibilities. To me, everything I do is about taking people beyond the boundaries of who they believe themselves to be and opening up to new possibilities, whether that's through nourishing themselves in other ways, whether that's leading the evolution in multidimensional intelligence and understanding yourself from the soul level, the oversoul level, the avatar, the rishi, the buddha, the spirit level, all the way back up to source, understanding your true cosmic history. It's a huge umbrella that brings it all together and is a wonderful playground for all the different areas that I love to play in. So the Possibility Hub offers, the Evolution Hub, the Quantum Hub, the Growth Hub. So it has different hubs where there's a gift of some of the different things that I work in. But to me, everything I do is around opening the door to new possibilities for people and taking them beyond that paradigm, beyond those boundaries. So that's how the Possibility Hub came about.
Wow. And it's interesting. The word possibility to me already has a vastness about it. So just allowing more possibilities out of possibility.
Yes, exactly.
How do you help someone tap into their own possibilities?
There are different ways. So sometimes that could be a group experience through a firewalking experience. Again, those work very, very rapidly to pull the neuroconnections out and rewire in a very, very rapid way. It's very exciting. It's also a very memorable event. So that's one way. I also offer mentoring, and I have the ability that with mentoring, often you can spend weeks, months, years in coaching and therapy looking for those limiting beliefs or those sabotage patterns. So usually within the first session, within an hour, I have the ability to identify your sabotage patterns in a specific area, which when I hold that up as a mirror, it's like, oh, that's the reason my life's not working. And so the subsequent sessions are around getting all those sabotage patterns removed and getting you aligned with who you really are and what you stand for, so that you're full steam ahead, because that means that your beliefs, your values, your behaviors are all aligned. Because sometimes just holding up the mirror, they all dissolve, they all shatter. Sometimes a little bit more work needs doing. I also run retreats and facilitate different experiences from breath work. And this is where I'm very blessed, Christina, because my love of curiosity and my love of learning, whether it's breath work, sound work, toning, speaking on stage as a keynote speaker, as an author, I have the opportunity to work in many different arenas to help and support groups. So even as a keynote where you may only be given 30 minutes or 45 minutes, or on this podcast a little bit longer, if you can switch on a light bulb or get people to be a little bit curious, you've already helped them open the door. And, that's what I hope to do maybe on a keynote experience. Obviously, on a retreat, if it's a darkroom experience, where some darkroom retreats just shut people in a room and keep them dark and feed them food every now and then, I like to create it as a group experience so that there's a central area so that they can ask questions. It's all in the dark, though, that we can go through different initiations and experiences. And again, notice in the dark the different chemicals that get released endogenously in your system. Also helping people cleanse physically with parasite cleansing or cleaning up their cells, but mentally detoxing, emotionally detoxing, and oftentimes now a big spiritual detox. So teaching people online and live, again, getting them to remember who they are. So that means sometimes people resonate with what you say and want to go deeper, and sometimes it's not for them. Everything has its time. And there's an interesting story here on my pathway into quantum morphogenetic physics and time, because I've traveled extensively. And I remember coming back from the US via the UK and staying with my mum for a few days. And she showed me this beautiful manual from a course she'd attended maybe 25 years earlier. And it looked really interesting, but it kind of went a little over my head. And my mum said, yeah, it went beyond my head as well. And I thought nothing more of it. I don't know whether it was that year or the following year, I'd come back again from overseas and there was a free talk going on at one of the centers here that I thought, let me go and investigate. And you know, when you hear something and it's like an echo of that which you already know. So I always think of when you read a book and something resonates with you, or you hear somebody say something and it resonates with you, all they've done is echo that which you already know, except sometimes we need to hear it externally as that echo because we didn't think of it ourselves or we weren't able to bring forth ourselves. So I went to this event and I got that bing, bing, bing. You need to meet with him. You need to mentor with him. So I went to meet him the next day and I found out that he knew the mentor that I'd been working with. In fact, he used to be her promoter. Their work was different, but he knew her very, very well, which was, again, coincidental. And then he took a phone call. And while he took the phone call, he said, I have to take this, Carol, but have a look at this manual. When I looked at the manual, I thought, I've seen this before. So I rushed back, called my mum and said, hold up that manual. It was the same, and it had his name on it. The course she had attended 25 years earlier was with him and his then wife. And I'm meeting him 25 years later. I went on to mentor with him. And then through another series of synchronicities, I went on to meet the person I studied quantum morphogenetic physics with and did my bachelor, master's, and PhD with. But again, I find that profound in that my mother had already planted the seed for me 25 years earlier to study what I studied, that it was already decided. I just didn't know it at the time. And the time was right. And if I'd come across that information earlier, like when I first saw the manual, whoof, over my head, it didn't mean anything. A bit like when you read that book and you read the page again and again and again because you didn't get it. But when you read it a few years later, maybe when you've expanded from a golf ball to a football, then new understanding, new wakefulness, and you can't put that book down. So the echo becomes louder. So I believe there's like a zip file inside of us and it gets unlocked at the most perfect time. And my gift is to help you unlock that zip file and release that which you already know and bring it into your conscious awareness so you can be more than you thought you could be and open the door to new possibilities.
Do you have your books available?
It's available on Amazon all around the world, Kindle and paperback. It's called Reimagine You. The long-winded title is Bioregenesis of the DNA Blueprint Through Source Feeding. So it did become born from my thesis, but as you probably know, a thesis isn't very readable. So this has lots of practical tools and techniques to start reimagining who you really are and remembering who you are. And I'll just quickly say, there's a reason that I call reimagine you. If you think of any time you put re before, it presupposes that which you already know, that there's a remembering. It's not membering, it's remembering, bringing yourself back together. Then whenever you say imagining or INE or ING, if you think of imagining, creating, learning, it's in, learn in, create in. So it's moving you within. So that's why it's the imagine in or imagine. And magi is the magician. So it's releasing the magician in all of us. So there is method in my madness in titling a book that there's some deeper level meaning that I did want to share. And so this was out in January. I've already written another book on multidimensional intelligence. So that should be out at the end of the year. But this is available on all major book platforms in Kindle and paperback.
If you could give the gift of health, wealth, or happiness, which would you give and why?
Health. I'd definitely give health as a gift because health is when you're fully alive, your cells are happy. And when you are healthy, then you think more clearly, your emotions are clear, you have a more expanded awareness of who you are. To me, this is true wealth, and this is when you can be truly happy. So it starts with health and reimagining, nourishing yourself in beautiful ways.
And now, a question from our previous guest.
What's one belief about aging you've had to unlearn, and how did letting it go open up new possibilities for your health, wealth, or happiness?
Excellent question. And I dislike the word aging. Again, from what I just said about ing, age in, there's beautiful wisdom that comes with aging. So it's also learning to embrace the wisdom and the wealth, health, and happiness that comes from longevity and being in the world for longer than, people in their 20s and 30s. So that was a big thing for me in particular, that you reach, a certain age and overcoming ageism in the world. And to me, not being defined by your age. So to me now, I do not believe in a lot of the things that are said about, when you go to a doctor or health expert and they say, oh, well, you're going to, your eyesight's going to diminish. Oh, this is going to happen. That's going to happen. And it comes back to what I shared with you earlier. I love my aerial hoop classes. Am I the oldest in the class? Absolutely. Does it bother me? No. And I don't think it bothers any of the other people there. It's like, how can you be a role model? How do you choose to allow yourself to demonstrate that this isn't a death sentence? It's an opportunity to open up in different ways that maybe weren't available or thought of by our parents and our grandparents. So the very nature of the work that I do in terms of possibility means that I do challenge those ageism and those isms and do not take those beliefs as a truth. I like to challenge them and say, I don't think that's true. Let me prove it. And that's what I'm doing with the path that I've chosen with source feeding, chronic living, the breatharian path, to explore, are there other ways to nourish yourself that are more beneficial, that create usefulness mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and physically.
Carol, I have learned so much from you today. I am in awe. I was in awe before today as well. You have so much information to offer, not only me, our listeners, the viewers. I am just so thankful for you joining today and sharing your knowledge.
Thank you so much for a nourishing conversation.
Oh my goodness.
For allowing me to talk. It was really beautiful, and I look forward to continuing the perfection of our connection.